Okay. All right. We are up and running. Let's see. There we go. Let's take a look at this. So the first thing we had today that I think probably matters the most was the overnight session. Right after the market reopened, I think it was clear what a lot of people were thinking, similar to what we were thinking, but it dove down and again, right here, tested yesterday's, let me move my face right here, that low that we had yesterday that we were looking, or sorry, right here, that we were looking at that didn't have any bullish positions on it. It was just testing out the expansion bars from 2 days back. So far today, what we have had is you see that we actually got our velocity number to pop down and then give us a bearish test right here. And right as we did that, we got a little bit trap orders there for the bears, and that's all. We also had decay moving up similarly, and you could see that the bears in both cases couldn't pull it off. So the thing that we were looking for today, if you remember, is to see tension get itself right up to zero, where then the bears will be, the bears are going to be able to see if they want to exert their dominance over the market again. If they want to be able to maintain their control over, moving tension down. If we just continue to work our way up, then what's going to happen is tension's going to get up to zero like this. The people who are essentially going to be paying for it is anyone who tried to participate here, which you could see institutions, the big players did not. So this is shadows, but they'll still pay. The shadow bears will pay for that. And as we move higher and higher, I think it's just going to have a bubble, work its way up. What would be really nice to have at this point is to see the bulls come in. If we got a velocity test of 0, if we got decay test of 0, that'd be really nice to see. And then we get the bulls to come in, they're able to participate, hold these bears underwater, don't let them have a bunch of profits, and then run the market up and use those bears to effectively get this up to 0. At this point, this is going to be a big deal. We're going to see the fight. We got this under, and you could see how aggressive they had to be, the bears that is, to get tension under 0. This is pretty aggressive stuff intraday, like running algorithms, and you could see that it was moving quickly. So there's a lot of work you have to do to get tension under 0 or across 0. And in this instance, it's going to be the same. So what the bulls need is a bag holder, which check, we did that this morning right there. It would be nice to have a position, which we don't have yet. Even though this is marked right here, you can see the volume. There's a little trapdoors there. It didn't line up correctly for me, so I'm still looking for the bulls. So we could still use a position, and we need to manipulate bears. So we'll need the market to do things to help those bears move their stops wider so we can get things further. Anything you can do to increase their risk tolerance is going to be really good. And the tricks to doing that is things like, playing in someone's stop, coming back, giving them break evens and stuff like that. Inoculation, lots of little sideways bars that go sideways. A lot of times in a market like this, you see it's grind, sweep, grind, sweep. You see stuff like this to help keep an upside move. So these little sweeps will help you, get the bears on holding the wrong side of the market for too far. That's the stuff I want to see if to have the bulls keep this under control. If we can't. So we've looked at the bull side that, it would be nice to have a position and drive that up, and that's the expectation. You get this up to 0 and see what they can do. Let's take a look at the bears side and see what they have in terms of, if they just totally dominated today. The first thing that the bears would need, since they have a bit of a position that has already failed, that's going to be a problem. They're going to need to reestablish that they're going to participate. So they'll need another position. Then they're going to desperately need a bag holder. Since they are already one, they'll need to find a bullish position, have that position participate, and then use their advantage with the 30-minute tension here to take the market down over them. And that could happen in a ton of different ways. The market could take hours to do that, especially with the way that decay is looking and velocity is looking. There's a lot of room for development here. So this could go in a lot of different ways if the bears are going to work out their control over the market. We need to see them be able to trap in a bag holder is the biggest thing here. Then once they get that bag holder in, so you see a position, bag holder, then they're going to need to run, which will pump tension. The biggest thing that the bears really need right now, which they have 30-minute down, is daily. So getting daily down is a huge chore. And this has been the chore that they've been struggling with, because you could see that they haven't been able to pull this down even close to zero over the past couple of days. They haven't changed the stance of daily tension. The daily probabilities are all still just as bullish as they've ever been. And so they've had a hard time, even with all this work they've been putting in, they've had a really difficult time making an impact at all on daily tension. So this is the big focus right now. We got 30 down. How do we get the daily down? And getting daily down is going to take a lot of work. And I don't see that work here at all. With the way that the market's moving, you have flat advance decline, velocity is making its way up, decay is up. I just don't see daily tension come down to zero anytime soon under this. So that's trouble for the bears. So that's my big focus on them. Do you guys got a setup that can drive this down to zero? And I don't see it yet. It's going to take a lot of development to get us down to zero. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, the market is looking for a bullish position. How do we find some bulls? We need to get a couple bulls in here to run this market up. What are we doing? Well, here's a little sweep down. But they don't have a position in there. These bears, they're like, let's run an algo. Against who? Where are you going? Where are you guys going? I don't know where you're headed with that. Let's take a look at options so far this morning. We really haven't had much going on here. Just normal activity, no, at least today, no really big orders. Taking a look at the volume profile. Just not much going on. There's just not much going on. Probably the most interesting thing is still Bitcoin, which is way outside of its pattern bands. Oil decided to go and be boring. Interest rates boring. Gold boring. Boring. Even the ES is boring. Soy finally cooled off, after a while. Just not much. And until that we get. I saw a report that MasterCard's opening up for Bitcoin to accept payments. That's good for Bitcoin. We need regulatory backers, someone who could come in and impose something on the Bitcoin community. I know that's totally contrary to the Bitcoin mentality, but until Bitcoin has mainstream capital support, it will never become mainstream because you can't use it in your day-to-day. You can't buy groceries with it. But if MasterCard's like, well, we'll accept payment in Bitcoin, cool. So I think Bitcoin's gaining a lot of traction in the cryptocurrency world. We saw, Elon Musk went in there, but I don't really care about that. I think the only thing that Elon Musk has done for Bitcoin is publicize. It's public. For a lot of people who think cryptocurrencies maybe were fake, you're not taking it seriously or whatever. Seeing Elon Musk post about it like he did with the Tesla, now you're like, oh, this is a real thing. But I don't think that changes really much about it. We still need infrastructure in place to deal with Bitcoins, which we've seen a lot of progress on that. So I'm just talking about that because it's the most interesting stock I have, or issue, security that I have going on right now. And I have a hard time seeing, I don't know, Bitcoin competing with the US currency. Regulatory agencies are going to do stuff. They're going to regulate. You're not allowed to compete with the US dollar. So we'll see. But we've seen some more backing from some bigger players like MasterCard, which is really a big deal. The day you can go into your grocery store and buy your groceries with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't cost $41,000 a coin, this is also a problem. $1 costs you $1, and this really helps it be popular. This helps Bitcoin be not popular. So they need a better way to break that down into a manageable sum. The other problem with Bitcoin they have right now is that $41,000 Bitcoin you might want to go spend could become a $10,000 Bitcoin in, like, I don't know, 5 hours. That's you can't provide for a family with this type of volatility, that's for sure. You guys had a bunch of money and you could pay the bills today, and then tomorrow you can't pay for nothing. That's a big Bitcoin issue. Bitcoin has got to slow down. It can't be such a big grower. It's got to be slow. It's got to quit moving so much. You're never going to take a paycheck in Bitcoin because that paycheck could be worthless tomorrow. And since it's Bitcoin, if you paid me $10,000 a month in Bitcoin, I expect every single month, the day after paychecks are distributed, Bitcoin to tank to $1 and to lose $9,999 every single month because it's Bitcoin. Like, I wouldn't take payment in anything that moved that volatile. So Bitcoin's still too volatile. You could wipe out half or double somebody's paycheck in a day. It's not mainstream stuff. It's got to move slower than that. It's got to be a slow crawl. So that's the issues I have with Bitcoin right now. It's too volatile. It's too expensive. It's not integrated well yet. I think there is some integration. There is, but used to have to be a little. Well, just think about it. You tell somebody, I use Bitcoin, and they go, tell somebody you use $1. They'll go, yeah, you're stupid. Why did you tell me that? It was expected. So it's still a little bit on the fringe. Until those things are fixed, it's not going to become mainstream. I don't care what anyone says. I hoped maybe if I rambled about my thoughts about Bitcoin for a minute, we get some development, but nope, just a whole lot of nothing. You see that? They spiked it down, and do you understand what problem they had? There's no bull. They didn't have a buyer right here who got trapped and they're running him underwater and they can run for his. No, they didn't have that. These bears are not in that position. These bears are in the other position. They tried to sell. They didn't impact tension. They couldn't control price. Oops. That's the position they're in. Oops. So that's where we're sitting at. We can take a look at yesterday and you can see right here we have this bearish position where the bears came in yesterday and did all the best work we've seen out of bears in a long time. So we're kind of sitting in that middle area. And this is what we were looking at yesterday in the close. So I mean, if we just ignore what happened overnight, which I pretty much am, we were anticipating this moves up, find some bears. I was hoping for a move down, find some bulls. We didn't get that. So this is just continuing the march. We're just moving. This is just a continuation of this. I don't think they're really all that separate. This is just moving slow. The overnight market, I think, had to do with the fact there were no bulls. There wasn't much going on. we were having a hard time piecing together, getting the right, the bulls to come in, the bears to get trapped. It was just the bears there. And so I think it caused some overnight volatility. There were probably a lot of people who positioned overnight, especially when it got down to this low here, which if you remember, it had a positive spread on it, meaning it was going to be real hard to break out that low. Same thing here. We got positive spreads on these lows. They're going to be hard to break. And last night it came down and couldn't pull it off. Probably because the structure just wasn't there. They hadn't trapped anyone. There wasn't a lot of positioning. It wasn't a fight. It was just the bulls sat back and the bears are putting the noose around their neck. It's the bears' favorite thing to do. So we're moving, and that's it. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to do until we get more data points. So I think I'm going to cut this stream here, and what you guys need to be looking for is the next position, which is going to be the bullish position. We got to find some bulls. And this could take a while, so I'm not going to just sit and ramble on about this all day. We just got to wait. Once the bulls show up, you'll watch their position. It needs all the pieces. So we're going to see the sample, the volume, the price response, tension, and the objective with this bull position is to get tension up to 0. That's the first goal. It's a big deal. 2, 0 is not the same as through 0. These are very different. So our first goal is just 2, 0. Once we get there, we're going to have a little wrestle with the bears. And the bears are going to have to figure out what they want to do, what's going to happen. And that wrestle is going to really determine the outcome of the day, especially how we get there is going to help us see, okay, I see how this is playing out. I see how they're positioned. Once we get there, it should be a lot more clear about who's probably going to win that little wrestle. So that's the next goal, getting us up to here. It would be really nice to see the bulls get a sample and be able to run the bears from here, but maybe they don't. Maybe this little tiny switchback was just sufficient enough for whoever's participating. I don't like it if I miss a huge run because I don't like a signal. I'm not gonna eat up data points that are so on the edge. So that's where we're at. Keep your eyes on that. If you should watch it in the Zoom, which I stuck the link down there with the password, and Zoom is very mad about that. They keep sending me emails like every day. They're like scouring the internet for anywhere that you place a Zoom link and yelling at you about it. Oh, John's asking, what do I think about the VIX? Well, bored. I'm bored with the VIX, right? It's here. I mean, if we get some volatility, if we can get this structure to show up, we could have things happen. But currently, because I'm looking for this, that's going to put, sorry, if I'm looking for this, that's going to put a downside on the VIX, but the volatility is increased, so it's going to hold it from moving down a whole lot because this blowing out bears technically is upside on the VIX because of insurance. So I think it's just going to sort of suppress the VIX activity through today. I don't think the VIX is going to crater. I don't think it's going to launch the roof. If I get everything I want out of the market, the VIX is going to probably sit pretty neutral and boring. That's what I think about the VIX right now. Not a big number I'm paying attention to until we get, unless we get a little bit more, if we get more of what we had for the past 2 days. So for the past 2 days, we haven't seen bearishness. Well, actually, yesterday we saw some bearishness, which was where, the bulls and the bears were able to take it down. We did see some. It wasn't like confirmed bearishness. It was elastic bearishness, which is short-term pullback type of activity. If we start to see some bearishness, I would expect the VIX to start to move upward after the bears were able to pull off get some work done. That work would lead to bearishness because the work would cause the insurance policies to get executed in the market to drive the VIX up. So right now, I just don't I don't see that. I see short-term activity by these participants through here. I see still an upside pressure. The tension is still, it's a ways off for daily. I mean, the highest we really ever see it go is like 20, and this is at 10. So these bears have a lot of work to do, and they're not doing it right. Maybe they'll get some sort of news report or something, but as far as I can tell, with the fear of interest, with inflation, with the joblessness going on right now, this is a horrible thing to say, I feel terrible. With the way that things are looking, it looks very bullish to me. With the way that the government's lined up, with the Democratic Party sort of having the things that they want to have. Yeah, they still have some work to do to get stuff pushed through, but these are all bearish things, or bullish things to me. Bearishness, just I'm not seeing it. It doesn't look like the Fed's doing bearish stuff. I don't see anything really bearish across like the landscape of the economy. I know everyone thinks joblessness is a bearish, but not with Amazon running the show. It's bullish. So I don't know, I'm not seeing a major bearish concept in the market the way that I think the news might be positioning it. The more I sit and think about it, the more I think, well, this is going to give mainstream major capital supported companies in the exchanges the freedom to do whatever they want. They're going to be king. You can't start up a company right now because you can't afford to pay anyone, so you can't compete with Amazon. And if they're too big to fail, it's almost like, are they too big to regulate? You know what I mean? Like, well, you can't tell Amazon no because they're the only one. Suddenly regulation, the power of regulation goes right out the window when you're too big to regulate. And it's kind of that way. I don't know how many employees they have. Let's look. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. How many employees work at Amazon? Let's see what Google says about it. That is a freaking ton of people. So that's 2018. It's not even recent. That's probably way higher. That's got to be way higher now. If you can't find a job, I personally know some people in my community who have had to go over and work for Amazon because they're the only one peddling jobs right now. So yeah, we're handing a lot of freedom to the big players because the minimum wage fears, if Biden pushes through and he gets a nationalized minimum wage, that's ridiculous. I think that a UBI would do better because a UBI would allow people to quit their job, which could help with the regulation problem. If you can quit your job at Amazon, you can go work for somebody else, and that somebody else just has to have a great idea that you believe in. You could support small businesses that way. I think that would be far better than bolstering the minimum wage. And we all know minimum wage just goes right into the stock market, and we all take a nice paycheck at the end of the day. That's what happens. Minimum wage just boosts prices in the stock market, which slowly matriculates. People just don't realize they already lost all their minimum wage bonus. They think that they still have it to spend, but it's like, yeah, stock prices already went. We already withdrew all the extra cash you think you got, and now it's gone. And it's just a matter of time. As soon as you spend that dollar, prices of things go up. So yeah, just looking at the landscape, I don't see a whole lot of bearish stuff. I think we're positioning ourselves to be bullish, not bearish. Not bearish. I also think that, well, maybe that's still a little too politicized of a topic. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So right now, look at that. Check that out. We got that to move down. I know I was going to quit the stream, but There we go. We're that first dive was just like nonsense, but now it's like, oh, let's see if we can find some bulls. Find those bulls. Nothing. Let's see, what's it going to take to get us to the bulls? We're at 12, 214, 240. How about 240 would get us bulls? We just kept moving instead of doing, this. Yeah, it's still going to be a little while. Okay, those are my notes for the morning. Watch for the bulls. They need a good sample, and they're going to need to participate and keep those bears underwater to get that tension number right there up to 0. At that moment, we're going to see the next major event for the day, which will be tension through 0. If the bulls don't do anything, or they hit and they can't turn those bears underwater, we're going to be looking at the bears starting to target a daily tension move down to 0, which I think is less likely. It's more likely the bulls just grind this up and make it painful for the bears, working 30-minute tension up as high as they can before that main fight over 30-minute tension. All right, guys, I will run a stream a little bit later today and follow up. See ya.